Good good evening. We are starting the program now. The title of today's topic is crime scene management. Crime scene management. Crime scene management is the process of controlling, preserving, recording, and recovering evidence and intelligence from the scene of an incident by legal requirements and according to appropriate professional and ethical standards. It is a critical part of the investigation because evidence that originates at the crime scene will provide a picture of events for the court to consider in its deliberations. The picture will therefore be composed of witness testimony, crime scene photographs, physical exhibits, and the analysis of those exhibits along with the analysis of the crime scene itself. I said the topic is crime scene management, and there are procedures we should take when processing crime scene for evidence. And some of these procedures will be discussed right now. If you look at your screen, we listed about 3 of them. The first one is a contact at the crime scene. As soon as you arrive at the crime scene as an investigator, as a crime scene investigator, as soon as you arrive, the first thing is to make contact with either the law enforcement officer or the civilian who requested the crime scene processing service. You make contact with the law enforcement officer in charge of the case, or perhaps it may be a civilian who requested the crime scene processing services. So he said that will be 2. So the first thing is to make contact as soon as you get to the crime scene. Make contact. Then you go ahead and go to preliminary survey. Preliminary survey, or we call it a walkthrough, crime scene walkthrough. This is what you do in this is that you and the perhaps the law enforcement agent or the civilian who requested for the processing of the crime scene, you have to you will go through the crime scene along with him in order to obtain some information. You have some questions from him or her. You as the investigator, you are trying to establish a path. You try to establish a path to enter and to exceed the scene if it has not been done by a first responder. Because if a first responder has been there before you, then he is supposed to have done that. So you establish a path to enter and to exceed the crime scene, avoiding the pathway used by the suspect if possible, and preserving the scene from possible contamination. This will also help the investigator in the reconstruction theory later. So that is number 2. And the number 3, which is very, very also important, is note taking. And how you do this is that you get a standard, you get a notebook with a cover page that shows the investigator's name, your name, the date that you started using the book, and the date the book was concluded, that is, the usage was concluded. Sequential page numbers must be there. It must be a bound booklet from which pages cannot be torn without detention. Then you have to make sure that every entry into the notebook should start with a time, date, and case reference. Then if there's any blank space on any page there, it should not be left just like that. You have to make sure that you cross it with a diagonal line drawn across the blank space. If there's any error that you make sure that you just cross the error with a line. Cross the error with a line. Do not make it illegible. Digital notes may also be used. In fact, that is very, very okay, very potent to be used these days. All you need to do is to use your digital device to record everything that you needed to be recorded over there. And the advantage of this is that those information can be stored in the cloud, making it secure to be retrieved at any time you need it. Video recording of the scene is a vital tool that you can refer to later. You are not going to miss anything. And in case if anything happens later, perhaps maybe during the court proceeding, and if there's any reason for you know that you have taken at the crime scene, if there's any reason for it to be recalled, then that can be done, because the digital note will show date, time, and metadata which will be intact. So the digital note can be used. Now let's move ahead because of our time. Okay, before we move to the crime scene search method, let's talk about the advantages of note taking. We have about four advantages. I'll just mention about 4 advantages of note taking. And the first one I will mention is that note taking will give you a better understanding of the crime scene later when you move away from the crime scene and you get to your office, in order to ruminate on what you have seen over there. So it will give you better understanding of the crime scene. It will also complement other records. Then another thing that it refreshes your memory. Then it will assist in correlating the testimony of any witness. It will assist in correlating the testimony of any witness. Then lastly, it will I think I mentioned that one, that it will refresh your memory. Yes, let's leave that one and go to crime scene search method. Crime scene search method. A crime scene search is a systematic method designed to locate evidence used in solving cases within a crime scene or other areas where evidence might be present. This process can be categorized into 2. The first one is dividing the search area into small manageable areas. That is, the whole crime scene will be divided into small manageable areas. That is the first method, the first category. And the second one is adapting the search pattern to suit the specific area or available personnel. At times you may not have enough personnel to do the work. You may not have enough, so you have to do it in a way that the available personnel will do to manage the crime scene, to do the searching in a way that it will be helpful. Then another thing that may be a kind of something that will constrain us in order to use this method, to adapt this pattern method, is that whether if it is outside, the weather may not permit us to waste time. Weather may not permit us to waste time. So if weather will not permit you to waste time, for example, maybe it is during the rainy season, that means some evidence might get lost. So, and the unique circumstance of each crime scene also will determine whether to you adapt the searching pattern that will switch kind of circumstances that unique circumstances. So I said there are two categories when we are processing crime scene. They can be categorized into two. The first one is dividing the search area into small manageable areas, and second is adapting the search pattern to suit the specific area. Maybe the place is large, or available personnel, or time constraint due to weather and lighting, and the unique circumstances of each crime scene. So now, type of crime scene search method. There are a lot of crime scene search methods. The first one I will mention is discuss is intensive search method. Intensive search method. The intensive search method is conducted after documentation, including photographs, sketches, and notes that we have mentioned, but before the actual collection and packaging of evidence begin. They are used in conjunction with other search methods such as zone, grid, and spiral. You have a zone, grid, and spiral. So that is intensive search method. It can be combined with some other search method like a zone method. A zone method is a method, a search method in which you divide the zone, the crime scene into zone, maybe like zone A, B, C, D. Then you start the first zone A first, zone B first, zone C, and zone D, like that. Then grid method is when you divide it into grid and begin to move from one grid to the other. And spiral is, as the name implied, you mark the place in a spiral form, and you begin to start from you and other your team. We don't move in a spiral form, and this one is normally used when you are searching for when the crime scene is perhaps inside the water, maybe a pool, maybe somebody died inside the pool, was murdered inside the pool, or something happened and you have to search inside the pool of water. So you have to use the spiral is very potent in getting evidence in that kind of a situation. Then another method apart from intensive search method is less intrusive search method. Less intrusive search method. And that one we have that one includes searching the crime scene with the naked eye or lighting tools, like using your alternative light source without touching any items, and then documenting and collecting. Then you have more intrusive method. After initial documentation and collection, items like furniture, clothes, or other objects are moved to uncover hidden or less obvious items. Then we have most intrusive method. This is where damaging or destroying items may be within the crime scene may be involved. Like, for example, cutting holes in the wall in order to recover projectiles. That is intrusive method. Cutting pieces of carpet with blood stain pattern. That is a intrusive method. But you must make sure you document and photograph every before and after each level of intrusive search and damages to the crime scene. Before you do anything, before you use intrusive method, whether the least intrusive method, more intrusive method, or the most intrusive method, you must make sure you document and photograph every the crime scene before and after you might have used the intrusive search method to the crime scene. Let's move to let's move on to collecting techniques. The kind of techniques that we are going to use, the kind of or the type of collection techniques that we are going to use or that you are going to use in collecting evidence will be determined by the type of evidence that you want to that you are processing or that you are looking for, that you want to lift. Now let's start from blood and other body fluid evidence. Searching for bloody and other body fluid, that is searching for biological evidence. What you need to do when you are searching for evidence such as blood, semen from a man, maybe the assailant, the rapist, saliva, maybe from the criminal or from the victim, also any other bodily fluid. So when you are searching for it, what you are looking for primarily is the DNA. The DNA is what you are looking for when you are searching the crime scene for semen, that for saliva and any other bodily fluid. So what the primary thing we are looking for is DNA. And and you're supposed to use, as an investigator, use a variety of methods to locate biological evidence. The method include visual inspection, that is using your eyes to look at the crime scene, whether you can get anyone. Then another one is using alternate light sources, like any of your the devices that can help you to see some biological evidence that you cannot see with ordinary eyes. So you use it. Then you have a chemical reagent like the things like nihidrin to make fingerprint visible, and so on and so forth. But let's move ahead because of our time. And when we are looking for DNA, we have to do swabbing. Swabbing for DNA is done in specific areas, such as around broken window glass, where at times the criminal or the suspect may come in through the window. After they might have broken the window, they come in through that. So the DNA, you process that broken window, around that broken window for DNA. Then the entry point, if they enter through the door, that one also can be, or they open the window. So, and then weapons, maybe weapon used by the suspect or the victim, or the one used by the victim to defend himself. So you process it also. So I'm going to demonstrate one before we move ahead. Let's demonstrate one before we move ahead. Okay, before we talk about the blood, before we demonstrate how to swab for blood sample, let's talk about number 2, the collection technique for hair and fiber. Then we do the two practical together. Now, it is possible that in some crime scene that what we are looking for is hair or fiber. Maybe it was a case of assault where two people struggle or fight with one another, or a place where a man rape a woman or a woman rape a man, because in that kind of situation, the body of the two of the assailant, the suspect and the victim will definitely touch. So it is possible for the hair or the fiber from the body of the suspect to drop or to be found in the crime scene. So we can process for this one also. We can lift it if you are able to see it. And what we normally use for such kind of evidence is that we use a visual collection, that is, look at it, whether you can get it. So if you are able to get hairs or fiber on any surface using your naked eyes, then you use forceps and trace papers. Forceps and trace paper, and the sample will be removed and placed in a folded paper and packaged for package using appropriate packaging. Then another thing we can use for hair or fiber is tape lifting, where you use tape, sticky tape, we apply to the surface where we have seen the hair or the fiber. We apply to the surface, then we lift it and we package it also for onward analysis. Another thing we can use for that is vacuum method, but vacuum method is where you use something like a pumping machine, a device like a pumping machine, to take everything like hair, fiber and anything that resemble fiber on the crime scene. It will enter into the vacuum pumping machine, and the vacuum device will be used to take those things. But the disadvantage of it is that of using vacuuming device is that both deaths that are not needed and all sorts of things will be taken along with it, which can make can cause the risk of contamination. So let's move ahead for a let's do a bit of practical. Now, let us assume that this is a crime scene where what we found a knife there. Probably this is the knife that the suspect used, and on the knife we are able to see something that we suspect is a blood. We suspect this is blood. So all we need to do is to get a swabbing cotton, one like this, one like this, sterile one, sterile swab cotton. Look at it, it's a sterile swab stick, so it's already sterile, and we have on it name, BED, ref, hour and date. So we can, after collecting our the sample, we may label it appropriately. Now let's move ahead. This is the weapon that we saw, that we suspect the assailant or the suspect used, and we suspect this red liquid on it, though it's already dry, but we suspect it's blood. So we are looking for DNA, and we know that DNA will be found in blood. DNA will be found in blood. So what we need now is a sterile swab stick, as we have it, and we have a sterile water. So you cannot just use just any water, so that's not to contaminate the swab. So what we need to do is to make sure that the head of this swab, that we moisten it, we moisten the head, and now we concentrate removing this thing. try to remove as much as possible. Can you see? As we have told us, before anything is done, photograph might have been taken, note taking might have been done. So we collect it like this, and when we are collecting it, make sure that we protect ourselves, we protect yourself as an investigator with your PPE, so as for you not to leave your DNA on it, not to contaminate with your DNA. Then you keep it, seal it, and there are several packaging bags that you have, but because of the fact that this is biological evidence, apart from the fact that you have to make sure that the thing is air dry before you keep it inside, you have to make sure that it's air dry. After air dry it, you keep it inside. Then don't use this type of bag because it's a biological evidence. It will degrade it. It will destroy the evidence. It will render it unusable. But we have to use a paper bag like this. We have to use it, but make sure any biological evidence is already air dry before you package it. You put it inside the bag, then you label. You do all the labeling. You look at the chain of custody form here. You fill it, and you fill other information. It must be sealed. Then off to the laboratory. That is for biological evidence. Then another evidence that you can process is when you have ear and viper at the crime scene. You have ear and viper at the crime scene. Now, this is here we have a viper here. Look at it. We have viper here. All we need to do is to get we need the material that will be. Hello, ma. Please, I'm in the class. I will call you back, ma. I will call you back, ma. I will call you back. So, I'm sorry for that interruption. Sorry for that interruption. So, you can use you can have your what they call it. You have some things. There are some things that is needed. We need tape. Yes. We need tape. You can use tape. Tape. Give me 2 minutes, please. You can use tape. This nylon tape we do, and paper tape also we do, but you must make sure that they are sterile, they are not contaminated. So, because at times when we are looking for when we lift viper from the crime scene or here, if it is here, it's either we want to use the ear to process DNA. So if you contaminate it, this will mislead the investigator. The investigation. It will. Then another thing is that though it may not be, it is not only DNA alone that you use hair examination to do. You can examine and hair. After analysis of the hair, you can discover that hair belongs to a particular person or a particular race. The hair of every race are not the same. For example, an Indian man hair will be different from an African man. And even in Africa, a Fulani hair will not be the same as a Yoruba person. So here the the structure of our hair will not always be the same. Even apart from that one, within the same tribe, by the time you analyze the hair, you can see differences. You can make a match, you can make identification to a particular person through the hair. So it's not always about DNA. Here is not always about DNA. But when it is DNA that we want to use, then you must make sure it is not contaminated. That the lifting method, maybe the blade. If you are using blade, maybe you want to cut. Maybe you want to cut part of clothing in a cotton. You want to cut it, or from the clothes that you saw there. You must make sure that the razor blade is clean, is sterile, or the scalpel that you want to use must be sterile. So then you may use tape, just as you said, to lift it. Adhesive tape, the side of the adhesive tape may be used, and so on and so forth. But let's just use this. Let's just do this one. Demonstrate the one that we have here. You need a backing paper like this. It's not just an ordinary paper. It's a paper that has information at the back. So you pick them one by one, as many as they are. Pick them, drop them inside, fold it like this, let them be folded, then fold like this, seal the mouth, and fill all this. Then you can now use your evidence bag, put it inside your evidence bag, and seal it up to the lab. Then you may also use tape. If you use tape, you are going to do almost the same thing. Using the tape to lift it, then you fold it like this, cut it, then place it inside the bag and make sure you fill the necessary information for the chain of custody and some other information that you have there. Then off to the laboratory for examination, for proper examination. Another thing I want to point our attention to after you might have collected this evidence is that you must make sure that you collect reference samples. Reference samples are the sample of known person, that is known person of suspects. You may have 2, 3, or 4 suspects, or just only one suspect. Collect the samples from them. For example, if what you have seen in the crime scene is blood, then their blood will be collected. I mean, it's DNA, biological sample. Then try and collect biological sample from them. But before you do that one, pass through the normal legal proceeding. And if it is here, also anything that you have seen in the crime scene, you must make sure you get a reference sample. And at times, the reference sample may not be directly it may not be a requested one from the suspect. It may be a collected one, that is reference sample that is in an archive. For example, where you have database in the country, in the nation where you have database for DNA, then that one may be used. But when there's no such thing, then there are other means by which you can collect reference sample. The items that such a person has used can be taken, that you know that surely this one belongs to this man, and we can see his DNA from it. and so many other ways by which you can collect reference sample from the suspect. And lastly, let's me talk on first responder to a crime scene. First responder to a crime scene. The first responder to a crime scene are usually police, fire, or medical officers. Their primary responsibility is to provide aid to those in need at the scene. There are times that the scene is maybe is place where a sort of a violent crime has taken place, and so the life of some people are still in danger. So what they do is to make sure that that crime scene is safe, and also the life of some people there are preserved. So, and also it may be during the incident of accident, it may be during this incident of fire or armed robbery, and the place must be secure by then before people will come in. Some onlookers, some people that are that's maybe even journalists, even some other law enforcement agents, before they get there, the first responder might have barricaded the place with tape. So the first responder secured the evidence at the crime scene by following a set of procedures to ensure that the evidence is not contaminated or destroyed. And at the crime scene, the first responder on the crime scene had the responsibility of securing the crime scene, as we said. The officer must ensure that the scene is safe and secure, and that no one enters or leaves the scene without authorization. In fact, the first thing is that there should be a place where if there's anybody that is authorized to enter, that person must be must be documented. Just get a place with notes that if, for example, when a higher maybe a police officer of higher ranking is coming, whether you are the investigator is a civilian or not, you may not be able to stop him from coming, but at least let him document his coming in, his entrance into that place. Let him document that. It must be documented. Then now, here are some steps that first responders must take to secure the evidence. Number one, identify the scene. That's the first thing. The first responder identify the scene and establish a perimeter large enough to contain relevant evidence. Number two, documenting the crime scene. The first responder document the entire crime scene and the specific location of the evidence found. And number three, secure the area. First responder secure the area with crime scene tape or other officers to keep people out and to preserve any evidence that may be present. Recognizing, identifying, seizing, and securing all digital evidence at the scene. First responder recognize, identifies, seize, and secure all digital evidence at the scene. Then the packaging, transportation, and storage of digital evidence must also be done. Trained first responder must package, transport, and secure all this evidence, and before they are transported to laboratory for onward examination. This is where we are going to stop today. Next week we are going to do another one with another interesting practical on some field of forensic that supports crime scene investigation. So, and the one we are going to talk about next week is going to be on the handwritten analysis under question document examination. Thank you. Bye bye for till next class, which is Monday.